You are now listening to the Hunter's Advantage podcast. We preserve the history and sport of hunting through curious conversation and action-packed hunts, as well as offering you tips and strategy for more successful hunts. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hunter's Advantage podcast. This is episode number 148. I'm joined by a special guest today, Payton 12. How's it going, buddy?
What? Excited to be here.
There we go. So we're talking about something that has been requested several times via Facebook Messenger, Instagram message, whatever you call it. We're talking about something that's happening in the state of Oklahoma and probably in a lot of states across the country, actually. But we're talking about airbows, arrow rifles, whatever you want to call them. If you want to call them a bow, I guess you technically can. But there's some legislation that's happening in Oklahoma right now talking about these weapons. But before we get into that, Peyton, why don't you describe a little bit about an airbow or an air rifle? It's pretty intuitive, the name, but if you had to give an explanation, how would you do it?
A CO2 gun, you mean?
A pellet gun with an arrow?
Yeah, so I mean, it looks like a rifle. You know, we now, just for everybody out there, we haven't held one of these in our hands, but as our research shows on Google, it's pretty much just like a rifle that shoots an arrow. I mean, it's got a sight, it's got a handle, it's got a stock, got the trigger, and I'm sure you just slide the CO2 cartridge in there somewhere and it's ready to go. Now, I don't know how many shots you get out of a CO2 cartridge or anything like that, but from our research, it shows that it'll shoot up to 600 feet per second. Again, we haven't shot one of these, but at least what the stats say, it looks pretty dangerous for wildlife is what it looks like.
Looks pretty deadly. There's a ever expanding list of topics that we're encroaching upon with technology in hunting, whether it's live streaming cameras or it's for airbows 1 week. It just seems like every single week you get into a Facebook forum or a community and people are complaining about a new technology that's making hunting easier. And this is definitely just another one of those. But I wanted to talk briefly about the two bills that are coming across in the Oklahoma House of Representatives. So the first one is Senate Bill 352. And basically what this bill is proposing is that it would basically allow the use of an air-powered arrow rifle for people with disabilities. And I've heard this is a common tactic of people proposing bills is they'll lump two of these bills together to make one sound a lot better and less intrusive, and then they'll add another more intrusive one on top of it. So there's not one bill, there's two. So there's Senate Bill 352, which has to do with these rifles for physically disabled people, and then House Bill 2355, and that is allowing those air shooting air guns or airbows as a legal hunting method during any archery season in the state of Oklahoma. So they're kind of lumping in the good with the bad here, right? We used to have crossbows just for people who were disabled. Then we gave it to everyone. Well, they're not even being subtle in this one. They're just trying to give it to everyone, but with two separate bills. So another thing I wanted to mention before we dig too deep into it is these are currently legal during rifle season in Oklahoma and muzzleloader season. So if you owned one of these and you currently wanted to hunt with it, the only days you can hunt with it would be that end of October muzzleloader season and the mid-November to late November and early December rifle season in Oklahoma, which gives you about 30 days of hunting with them annually already as it currently sits. Whew, I'm going to take a break. That's a lot. This topic was discussed at the ODWC meeting on April 3rd. Peyton, what are your initial thoughts?
My initial thoughts, it's kind of getting scary how much closer and closer we're just getting to a rifle, each time with the new technology. We started with the ambo. Those are tough. We can't even handle those. Started, then went to the compound bow. Those are tough, a little easier, obviously, a lot easier in the recurve. You all know that. Then we went to the crossbow, and that's where we really draw the line of, okay, we're getting to, we can shoot something fairly accurately, up to, I would assume 100 yards. Now we're getting even faster. The challenging part about bows is if you practice, there's only one thing that'll get you if you practice a lot, and that's if the deer's ducking. you practice a lot, you make a good shot. The deer ducking is about the one thing that can really get to you, but with 600 feet per second, that's gonna be pretty tough. So yeah, I just think it's a little scary how close we're just getting to rifles in the long run.
Yeah, that's a good point. These things are pretty scary. I mean, you think about a bow, the average bow right now is going to be advertising anywhere from like 330 to like 340, 350 FPS. And that's with like a freaking 250 grain arrow in their marketing materials.
You're shooting a straw down the, you're shooting a straw.
The reality is most people are going to be shooting, you know, any person that's shooting a half manly arrow is going to be in that 270 to 290 range and even slower. So you're talking about a bow that can shoot double what a regular compound bow can do. And not only double the speed, the accuracy has to be a heck of a lot better, because I don't know about you, I'm not a great rifle shot, and I could shoot a rifle 5 times as accurately as I could shoot my bow. And I guess that is one of the pros you could initially talk about one of these, say, oh, well, we're going to recover more deer. That's for sure. You probably will. But I don't know. This I did like that the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers of Oklahoma, the chapter, and I think actually the broader organization did take a stance on it. And I think this was from a few years ago, but they did say they were anti this legislation, which I liked. I mean, it's getting scary out there. I mean, with the live streaming cameras and then now this, how much easier can you make it while still calling it a bow? At least a crossbow has a string. These don't even have a string. Anything you got to hook a CO2 canister to is not a bow.
Yeah, I think there's a fine line, between bows and rifles, because let's all be honest, a rifle is a lot easier to hunt with. I mean, if you could see a deer, you could probably shoot it with the rifle, depending on what rifle and how good of a shot you are and what scope and all that. But there should be a fine line of, hey, it's a lot more challenging. Let's admit crossbows are a lot easier than compound bows. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But there still is a fine line between using a crossbow and a rifle. There's a really fine line. Now with this air gun, air rifle, arrow rifle, whatever you want to call it, we're kind of splitting that line of, okay, we're getting really close to a rifle now. I mean, we're over probably half the speed of what a rifle, bullet will come out at. So
we're getting dangerously close to shotgun territory. just a few hundred more FPS.
Yeah, just a little more FPS, and you'll be over half of what a rifle can shoot, that's just crazy to think.
It is nuts, though. Like, they're trying to keep some of the elements of the bow. Like, the only thing that makes this a bow, even in the slightest, is the fact that it shoots a hollowed out tube that resembles an arrow with a broadhead on the end of it. Like, that is the only thing that makes this a bow in any way. It has a stock, it has CO2, it has a trigger, has a scope. This is a rifle that they've converted. It's like they took a rifle and they were like, how can this shoot an arrow? And then that's exactly what they did. So they did it with compressed air. I mean, I don't know. If we were to dig into the pros, the only pros that I can see with this, and it's similar, I think, with the crossbow, is getting people in the outdoors that possibly wouldn't otherwise. And the reality is like they could easily go take it's sad. Now I'm encouraging people to go take a crossbow out instead of it's like, dude, just take the crossbow.
I put more respect on your name. You're a crossbow when you could use an air rifle. Good for you.
You're a man. Yeah.
I was going to say there are pros. I mean, let's be honest, for the disabled, there's some people out there that, might lack a little confidence. Well, I still can't use a crossbow, good, great. Get out there, do whatever you have to do to hunt, but there is a line, I think, comes with, disabilities or people that physically cannot use, crossbow or compound. Like, yeah, I understand. I respect it and I understand that. But, I think, again, let's start with that line. I think we don't start off with just everybody can use it. Let's at least start there.
So would you be in support of the first bill, the one that was just for disabled? So it'd be Senate Bill 352, just for disabled people?
Personally, yes, because, again, could use a crossbow. You can use a crossbow, anything to help help them out a little bit to give them a little more confidence. If they want to get out there and hunt, have at it. We're capable of using whatever we want. We're thankful for that, but there's some people that aren't. So I think we should take that into consideration, obviously, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. Now, like I said, there's got to be lines going in, so we can't just go out and do it, because obviously if you give an inch, we're going to take a mile in Oklahoma, at least. So there has to be boundaries set in stone.
Yeah, it sets a weird precedent, though, because it's like if you allow it for this, like it's the same thing with it's the crossbow story. We've seen it before. I don't have anything against people that use a crossbow, but it's like they originally were for disabled people, right? And maybe, I don't know if they were for children or not, but definitely disabled people. And then one day everyone's like, why not for everybody? And they're like, great idea. And so if you do it for disabled, how's that going to go?
Yeah, that's the scary part of the downfall of there will be people out there. Well, why can't I? And it's like, come on. you got a crossbow, you got a compound. You can there's options out there. You can already shoot 100 yards with a crossbow. Why do you need an air rifle?
Because I need to shoot 120. That's why.
Yeah, no kidding. Again, we don't know. I've never shot one, so I don't know how accurate these things are. Who knows? They might not be able to hit water. You might not be able to hit water if you throw out of a boat. But with today's technology, I'm just going to go under the assumption that it's probably pretty accurate for a while.
And very affordable. We were looking at I found one on Midway USA, $300. We found I don't know what model that other one was.
That other one shot 600 feet per second. It looks crazy, and it's only 800 or 800.
Yeah, a Hatson is it's called the Harpoon. I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like a bow. 600 FPS. That one was only $850. That's kind of nuts. What about for the ultra libertarian people that say, you know what, this is my tag, my hunt, I'll shoot it however I want? What about those people? What would you say to those folks?
Do whatever you want. I mean, as deer hunters, I think that we all have a little clout. We all have that, like, yeah, man, I killed, for example, the deer on my wall back behind me. I love it more than anything. If there was a fire in this house, it'd be the first thing I saved. Love it more than anything. I shot it with a rifle. Okay. If I shot it with a bow, it would mean even 10 times more. So just for me personally, there's some people that just don't care. And good for you. I wish I was that way. I truly wish I was that way, but I care. I want to kill, or I want to harvest deer or anything with a bow, my compound bow, because it just feels, I don't know, it's just more of I'm a man. I did it with a compound bow. That's just how I am. For those people, good for you. Do what you want. I won't put respect on your name, but do what you want.
I won't put respect on your name.
I mean, seriously though, if you have a 150 and you got a 150 and you tell me you shot one with a rifle and you shot one with a bow, not everybody's like this. Not everybody is. Maybe I'm just wrong. I don't know, but I respect you more if you kill or harvest an animal with a bow. I mean, that's just how I am. Especially with the recurve. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's insane. It matters. It matters to me. I'm not gonna lie. I never will lie about that.
Well, if you asked a person, I think most rational folks if the deer's the same size, if it was the identical clone of the same deer, they'd be like, oh, I like shooting the one with the bow. It was more fun. It was closer.
Yeah,
it was more intimate.
Dude, bow hunting is hard. If anybody says it's not, they're lying. Bow hunting is hard.
Well, that's kind of one of the deals, right? Is the reason that the bow season in Oklahoma is October 1st to January 15th is because it's so freaking hard to kill one. Like if it was a 2-week bow season, I bet the harvest would go down by 80% because, people wouldn't kill as many. But isn't that kind of the point of archery equipment, is self-imposed limitations for the sake of doing something challenging or having a more intimate experience? Because, I mean, having shooting a deer under 40 yards is something special. You start pushing out to 70, 80, 100 yards plus while still shooting an arrow. That's pretty much the same experience you get with a muzzleloader. You're starting to get into like muzzleloader territory with ranges, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, and it's super special. I mean, man, if you really sit down and you think about it, you're like, okay, I'm going into their house. When you go deer hunt, you're like, I am in their territory. I'm at their house. How can I win? getting a deer within 30 yards, dude, even if you don't shoot or you get a doe within 30 yards, you're like, oh my gosh, that was awesome. I came out there, I outsmarted him. I won today. Now I might not have harvested one, but still it's awesome. But when you have the capability of shooting, there's rifles, nothing wrong with rifle hunting at all. But with this new bow, gun, whatever you want to call it, for the whole season, it's dangerous. It's dangerous.
The Hunter's Advantage podcast is powered by Out on a Limb Manufacturing. Out on a Limb is a family-owned company based right here in Oklahoma that makes tree stands, saddle platforms, climbing sticks, and so much more.
Christian, I have a quick question.
What's that?
What bites down harder, a hippo or an alligator?
No idea.
It's a trick question. The Ridge Runner 2.0 bites harder than both of them. But all jokes aside, we use these products all across the land on public or private. These help us get into any tree we want and hunt where the deer actually are.
Most men go to the grocery store for their meat, but these products help you go to God's grocery store. I have used the Out on a Limb Ridge Runner 2.0 and the Shakar sticks for the last few years hunting public land bucks, and I've actually shot several bucks out of this setup. If you want to support the podcast and get some Out on a Limb equipment, make sure to go to outonalimbmfg.com and use code HNTA10 for 10% off at checkout. Once again, if you want to support the podcast, go to outonalimbmfg.com and use code HNTA10 at checkout for 10% off. Now let's get back to the podcast. I know we just got out of the Out on a Limb ad, but I did want to mention a awesome spring sale that they got going on right now. It's 15% off, and if you buy one of their one sticks, you get a free 3-step aider. So if you're one of those crazy people that wanted to try out a one stick this year, I don't know if I'm one or not. I haven't decided yet, but if you are one, this is a great time to pick one up. Jake, you're going to be one sticking this year?
Negative
Ghost Rider?
Not man enough.
But if you are man enough and you want to carry 40 foot of that line in your bag and
do a little bit of Pilates,
a little yoga, tree yoga, go check you out a one stick or any other products like camera arms, saddle hunting gear, platforms, all that stuff on Out on a Limb, mfg.com. It's 15% off. I know it's spring, but your wife still is finally getting over you spending all that money in the fall, and it's time to ramp that back up. Hunting season's coming very quickly. 15% off. Go check it out. I think we talked a little bit about the very few pros that we could see from an air bow or air rifle. I'm going to call it an air rifle because that's what the hell it is. Let's talk about some of the cons, and let's start with harvest. What do you think this does to deer harvest? Because bows are already, since they're such a long season, they're representing a good portion of the state harvest already. What do you think that's going to do to people's effectiveness?
Okay, so I could totally be wrong. This could be wrong, but here's my opinion. I think more bigger bucks will be shot. People will start. It's kind of a pro and a con. Less bigger bucks around because you're going to be able to shoot them to 100 yards. So if you have any neighbors or you have bucks on your land, it's going to get, and your neighbor has a air rifle, it's probably going to get shot if they can see it. Now, I think a pro is maybe people will stop settling for less. Maybe they'll think, okay, with this capability, I hope so.
Does that work for crossbows? They're like 3.5. Squid, got it.
Yeah, maybe people will start or stop settling for less, and say, "Hey, I have the capability to shoot that big one if he comes by." Let's just hope. I don't know. There's no telling. More deer are going to get shot because it's the availability to. Well, I don't know. More deer may be able, may be shot, maybe less, but the capability obviously is a lot. So. It's there.
I'm not saying that if a friend had one, I wouldn't shoot a doe with one or something, but definitely not a buck. I could see the appeal of shooting something at 100 yards with a crossbow. Like, I don't know anyone that has a crossbow besides my dad. And honestly, if he would let me use it, I'd probably go shoot a doe with it. I probably wouldn't shoot a buck, but I could see, it's one of those things like bow hunting takes time and takes effort and takes practice and
I was going to say, dude,
technique.
It takes practice, so much practice.
Yeah, we just got back from the Total Archery Challenge. Dude, if you took a guy in with the average Joe with an air bow and put him against, I don't know, about like a John Dudley or something like that, John Dudley probably still outshoot him. But the thing is, it would be sad that if it was even close, because you give that same guy a regular bow, it's like, dude, you're not getting within 100 points of John Dudley on a 25 target course. But with an air bow, it's like, you really might. You take the average Joe and you make him as good as someone who is a professional with a bow. It's kind of messed up.
I mean, dude, you can put scopes on these things, can't you? I mean,
of course. No, open sights, dude. We're going to make it fair.
you can put scopes on these. What is that? Like, what is that? I don't know. That's crazy. It's just crazy.
I think I draw the line at if it has a string. At least crossbows have a string.
Yeah,
you know, like an air bow, it's like CO2. Is this a pellet gun or is this a bow? I'm confused.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, man. I've had my fair share. I ran into some people in Kansas with crossbows, and it gave me sour taste of them. But at the same time, not knocking you. Use what you want. But for my sake and my credibility, you know, who cares? You probably don't care about my credibility, but
yeah. So let's talk about maybe what this could affect. And I think the main place, like what people are going to do on private land, so be it. You know, if I told you to not shoot them with a slingshot and you did, it wouldn't affect me because you're on private land. You could do what you want. Yeah. Let's talk about where this really comes into play, which is public land.
Yeah. Yep.
It's already a crap show. Crossbows are already encouraging people to do this sort of, and we've seen it, like you said, in Kansas. You know, hey, it completely changes your mindset. When you're hunting with a bow, you're like, okay, I got to get a deer within 40 yards, right? Then you start doing process of elimination. Am I going to walk up on a deer within 40 yards and get a shot? Probably not. No. What does that mean? Now I got to hunt smart. I got to play the wind. I got to think about their travel patterns, where I need to be, where's the bedding, all these things. When you have something that shoots up to 100 yards, you say, I could probably jump one. And when he stops and looks back, I'm going to get him.
You can just set your butt on the edge of a field on the ground. I mean, really, you can. Sit in the beans.
It's a completely different game if you have one of these in Kansas.
Yeah.
In the beans.
Man, I'll tell you what, if I used one of these, if I had the capability to use one of these, you know, during all bow season, man, I'd have at least two, you know, two over 130, you know, on the wall, at least 2 deer within the last 2 years. But that's the thing, is with a compound bow, you draw that line up. Yeah, I can't shoot that far. You know, ethically, trust me, I can shoot that far, but not ethically.
So do you think this further encourages people to kind of be dumb on public land? I mean, obviously you can't control what people do, but you have to take that into account when you're making laws and legislation. Like, what is this going to encourage?
Man, it's going to be really bad for public land. I do know that. I hope that there are more people out there that, like me, that's just like, I don't care. I will not use one of those. I will not. Let's just hope a lot of people step up and do that. But there are going to be people that say, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you use. A dead deer is a dead deer. And good for you. If you think like that, I'm jealous. Good for you.
I wish I could think like that.
Yeah, I wish I had that mentality, but I just don't. It's going to be scary for public land, especially, you know, we hunt all around public land in Oklahoma, and you, Jake, and I, we have all had chances at deer that we didn't come up with. And, you know, from what we know, no one did. No one came up with those deer. So they live on another year. That's not going to happen with these things. It's just, unless one comes and sneaks up on you downwind, and you have a shot, you're shooting it. You might hit it. It's not a guaranteed, you know, harvest or anything like that, but because we see deer on public land. That's the thing, is we do see deer. You know, we come up short a lot. Man, if we would have did this, if we would have done that, if we would have done, you know, this. Well, I put myself in that situation every time. And so far, when I have read the statistics on this thing, there has not been a situation where if I said, oh man, if I had an air rifle, I didn't come up with a deer. You know, I would have harvested every single one of those if I made a decent shot.
As long as you don't punch the trigger, that's all you got to worry about.
Yeah. Exactly.
No recoil, no nothing. Yeah, I worry about that. And when you're making laws, like you can't make the laws for the people that have morals and ethics and have a certain standard of conduct. You have to make them for the idiots that are going to do whatever the law is. That's how you have to make the laws. And it's like, I can think of about a dozen people right now that would be like, I'm getting one. you know what I mean? Like I'm getting heck, dude. I probably got some family members that would pick one up. And you know what? If it's legal and ethical, that's where I guess y'all can draw the line. Just because something's legal doesn't mean I'm going to do it. And that's probably where I'd leave it.
Yeah. And I don't mean to sit here and, bash anybody that would go for it. If they make it legal, go for it. Do whatever you want. I don't want to hear about it, but go for it.
Yeah. Well, this is an interesting one. Pope and Young record books, would you consider a deer that gets shot with an air rifle and a record? Is that an archery kill?
That is a very, very good point. And to be honest, never thought of that. So I don't know. No.
You can't. So when I was filling out my Pope and Young paperwork this year, dude, they were like they were tools on fair chase. They're like, was this deer in water where it couldn't get away? Was its leg caught in a fence? They asked every question you can based on fair chase. And I would say using a weapon that doesn't belong in that season sure doesn't sound like fair chase. I think if you surveyed 10 rational people and 8 of them would say, that's not a bow. If you went to the communities that don't hunt at all, you'd be like, is this a bow? They'd be like, that's a gun with an arrow on it.
Man, you could go anywhere and everybody, I think even if you promote them and you're like, yeah, I'm all for them, you're still a little party is going to be like, this is a damn gun. Even if you use it, I mean, come on. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, right? But come on.
With that being said, we do have a couple affiliate links in our bio of this podcast. If you want to purchase one, we'll get a small commission. No, I'm just kidding. Would you use one to shoot a doe? If they were legal, would you use one, or would you, if a buddy had one?
Man, I wouldn't shoot an animal with one, but I would sure go. First thing, I'd just go over to his house and be like, dude, get that target out there. I want to get my hands on one of these. I got to see what it's about. Would I shoot an animal with it? No, because man, I'm too prideful, dude. I'm like, no. I mean, I wouldn't even shoot a doe with a rifle at this point. You know how I was last year. I'm like, no, I'm not shooting one. I'm not shooting with a rifle. I have a bow. I'm confident in my bow. If I can't get it done within 40 yards, I don't deserve to shoot one.
That's a good mindset. That's a really good, it's the point of archery, right? Making it more challenging. I think increasing the challenge increases the respect that you have for the reward. Shooting a deer on public land with your bow, to me, that adds about 30 inches to a deer. I'm like, public land with your bow?
Yeah.
A 120 gives me a heck of a lot of satisfaction on
public land. My 11 point was 132-inch deer after that.
Your spike?
Yeah, we don't. I should have brought that up, man. That was a bad time. That was the top 5 maddest I've ever been in my life at myself.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, I told you to do it, so I could take 50.
Dude, we didn't know, and we even had a camera zoomed in on it. Where I was like, "Yeah, man, yeah, let's go first mountain deer." I walked up and I was like, "You got a gun? Because I'm gonna shoot myself if you do." Say no.
I'm trying to think what else on this. This is ridiculous. There's probably a small percentage of people that listen to this that are like, "I'd use it, man." And to you guys, I say, you do you, man. We can still totally be friends if you hunt with a crossbow, if you hunt with an air rifle, any of it. But I think generally speaking, this is a bad idea. It's a very bad idea.
Yeah. I wish I had that mentality, man. I really do. I wish I was just like, man, it doesn't matter. One of our good friends in Tulsa, Colin, I know I know that you listen into these, he's got the mentality of, man, it doesn't matter. I'll shoot it with a rifle. And I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous.
The freedom.
Yeah. To where it's like, I can't do that. I can't do that. And use them. But like I said, I don't mean to daunt, or nag on anybody that's going to do it. So go out, have fun, do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Let me know how it goes. Actually.
Send a picture of your buck. Yep. Yeah. So I do think for folks that oppose this or for even the small percentage of you guys that support this, I don't want to just use these podcasts as a way to complain. Done that in the past. Prefer not to do it. Let's talk about what you can actually do about it. So I pulled it up here. We have the ODWC has a commission for the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation. There's 8 members. They're appointed by the governor. They're appointed by and confirmed by the Senate. They're unpaid, and they're basically a department of advisory for the Department of Conservation. So they oversee land, equipment purchases, WMAs, fish hatcheries, and all the state's hunting and fishing regulation. And these are appointed by the department's director. So I'm going to put the link to all these folks in the podcast show notes. There's 8 of them, and there's different regions that they serve in based on what area of the state they live in. And so they have a bunch of counties that they operate on. If you have any opinion about these bills that are coming across, feel free to reach out to these 8 commissioners and let them know. A lot of these people are making advisory and decisions based on for the policy that's happening in the state of Oklahoma. So reach out to these folks and share your opinion. We're going to link all of them in the show notes of the podcast, and use your voice. Like one voice isn't a lot, but collectively, if we bound together, we can really have an influence on these kind of stuff. And I would just encourage everybody to do that, and that's if you're for it or not for it. But if you're for it, don't send an email. You don't have to. They'll know. I'm just kidding. So that's what I would say. Airbows, man, between like drone deer recovery, airbows, live streaming cell cameras, it's a crazy hunting world we live in today.
Man, it's getting pretty easy. I mean, easier. I'm not saying that bow hunting's easy by any means, but it's getting easier.
Yeah, I would leave you guys with this. 1, make your voice heard. 2, you don't have to let the law tell you what ethics to have. Have your own values, stand on them. If you think bow hunting, fair chase with a compound bow is the way that lights your fire, keep doing that. Teach your kids that. Pass down those traditions, because before too long, everything's going to be legal, and everybody's going to, or a lot of folks are going to be hunting in a really weird way that doesn't resemble hunting at all. So that's what I'll leave you with. Anything you want to give them, Pate?
Save the public land.
Please, God. We got a bunch more hunters in the wood. Let's get some more public land, folks. Tell your commissioners that.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Hey, we want more.
All right, before we go, I did want to talk to you guys about a cool deal that's going on at Exodus Outdoor Gear right now. And I think this is a great deal for pretty much anybody that's been using trail cameras for a long time. Peyton, how many completely useless, broken, piece of crap trail cameras do you have sitting in the garage right now?
The majority of the trail cameras I have are like that. Why do you ask?
Because Exodus is bringing back a program they did last year that allows you to trade in one of your old piece of crap, works, doesn't work, useless cameras and get 25% off one of their new cell cameras. Upgrade program that's going on right now. You can go to ExodusOutdoorGear.com, use the code UPGRADE, whether it's all uppercase or lowercase, doesn't really matter. And it'll allow you to save 25% off a Exodus render bundle, rival, or a rival bundle. So basically how this works is after you place your order, Exodus is going to send you a return label to trade in your old piece of crap camera. And once they receive that camera, they will ship you your trail camera. So if you're new to Exodus, this is what I'd say. They do have some awesome customer service. They have a 5-year warranty on every one of their trail cameras and 5-year theft and damage protection. I've been shooting their Exodus MMTs all last season, killed 5 deer with them. They were incredible. Their trail cameras are no different. So they're running the upgrade program through the entire month of April or while supplies last. And we're going to provide a link in the show notes of the podcast where you can go to the upgrade program directly, get you a new Exodus cell camera, and ship in that junker. Save 25%. It's a pretty awesome program. All right. So we got a couple TAC videos that just came out. Go check those out on the YouTube channel. We had some really fun challenges. I think we're going to jump on and talk a podcast about that soon. So be on the lookout for that. Go check out the YouTube channel. If you want to listen to or watch the video version of this podcast, it's available, Hunter's Advantage Podcast on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe. We're trying to get that channel up to 1,000 subs as well. But thank you guys for listening to the episode, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.
See you. Jesus loves you, as Jake would say.
Thank you guys so much for checking out the Hunter's Advantage podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to the podcast. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you in the next episode.